Still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks.
Good afternoon, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the Supermac and Gibbo show. How are you, fellas?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good
Positive.
Good stuff. Good to see you, as always. An hour to chat about Newcastle United with the two legends and find out what their views are about the ongoings at St James's Park. I'm glad we've got two games to talk about because the first one against Bournemouth was a bit of a bored draw, John.
Oh, terribly. I mean, the point was welcome because before the game, you know, you were worrying about not getting the result down there because we haven't done well down there. And defensively, we did well, but as far as attacking was concerned, it bordered on the embarrassment, the lack of shots on goal, etc. It was a bored draw, and it was nice to rinse that out of the soul with the first defence of the Carabao Cup.
The Bournemouth game really was. It was interesting for me, right? And I watched it live. I didn't go down there, so I watched it on TV. And to be perfectly honest, I just felt Newcastle set up to draw that game, to not lose, to not get beat, really because of the way they find themselves up front. No Wissa, having to rely on Voldemort, who's learning how to play with the lads around him.
Yeah, yes, he's having to learn how to play up front as well because that's not really his game. But I fully understand the point that you're making, Steve, and I got the impression from Newcastle because I thought that Bournemouth they played really well. They're a cracking side. They really are. And they sort of defy everything about them in terms of a tiny ground and they're sort of batting with the big boys, as it were. When you look at where they finished in the league last season, so all credit to them. And I think that Eddie Howe showed a lot of respect for what's happening down there, and I don't blame him. Don't blame him in the slightest. And so the defence was they were at their best. I felt, and they looked really, really good. It was just that you get to the last third, and everything seemed to break down. And I just feel that Newcastle are seriously lacking something. If Wissa can provide that, great. But I tell you, considering that he's out injured at the moment, there's a huge pressure on him without him even kicking a ball. Huge pressure that he's having to carry all the way through now. And once he actually does put that shirt on when he's fit and gets out onto the pitch, by heavens, the responsibility is going to be absolutely huge. And Voldemort will be well pleased to be able to just drop off and get into the position that he plays best in and feels the most comfortable. And until then, I think we've sort of just got to muddle through as best we can.
Yeah, I think that's right, Malcolm. And for me, Voldemort is not in any way, shape, or form a traditional number 9.
Yeah.
He is just simply not that. And he's been asked to play that because we've lost Wissa. His game is, I mean, you look at a number 9, you look at Malcolm MacDonald, you look at Shearer, you look at Isaac last season. In the finishing, I mean, it was a terrific headed goal from Voldemort. But have you ever seen him have a lethal shot yet? A shot that he's put his laces through it, and a goalkeeper's made a stupendous save. It doesn't, because he's not a 9. He's a 10. He's got great feet, lovely feet. We know all about that. But he naturally wants to drift backwards from the 6-yard line towards the 18-yard line and do his stuff round there. Where strikers go into that 6-yard box, he's not looking to, and that's not a criticism of the lad. In lots of ways, guys, he reminds me of 2 lads that we have had in the past who were initially played by Newcastle United out of position. One was Joe Linton. He come here and we played him centre forward. He was never a centre forward. He wasn't a centre forward in Germany. He played as a left-sided attacker, coming in a bit like Harvey Barnes likes to do and trying to get a finish off. That was his game before Eddie converted him into the midfield dynamo that he is now. He wasn't a centre forward. If you go back far enough, John Dahl Thomason signed for Newcastle at a time when we'd sold Ferdinand, and then Alan Shearer got this horrendous pre-season injury at Everton, and we didn't have a centre forward. John Dahl Thomason was played centre forward, and he looked a fish out of water because he is a 10. He was a 10. He played outside the box, coming onto the box, and we stuck him right in the box. And his reputation at Newcastle never recovered from that. But I tell you what, he went on the continent and played in Serie A and across the continent in his proper position, a number 10. And what a career he had. What a wonderful player he was.
Yes, he certainly did.
Oh, but he was asked to do a job, Malcolm, that wasn't his. And so was Joe Linton. In my humble opinion, Voldemort has been asked actually the same thing. He's not an out-and-out number 9.
Right. And just to clarify for everyone viewing, that the difference is that where the position that Voldemort is comfortable in playing, he's got maybe 1, possibly 2 defenders to deal with. But where the 9 goes, in the way that Alan Shearer played, the way that I did, that you're talking of maybe having 3, 4, 5 guys all in there. And so getting the ball to you is difficult for your teammates. So you have to make space. You have to go and find it where there's very little of it. But then when you found it and the ball does come, by heavens, you've got to react so quickly, because otherwise there's going to be 1 coming in, 2 coming in, a 3rd one, and then a 4th one maybe. But before the first one gets in, you've got to get your control and shot away. And that's the art of being a centre forward. That's what made Alan Shearer, that it was that just ability. When the ball came to him, boom, all of a sudden the ball was in the back of the net, and people would say, how did he do that? And you just have to be lightning quick in the way that you get your shot.
We know Issa's record tells you 19 Premier League goals last season, none of them penalties. that he can play orthodox centre forward and finish
Yes,
well.
he can.
And
Yeah.
you know, there was a lot of talk that we had got two centre forwards to alternate, Wissa and Voldemort. They can easily play together because Voldemort doesn't want to play. To me, he's not in the box enough, and when he is, his back's to goal, and he wants to do a little trick and lay it off for someone else. Lay it off for
Sure.
I mean, the centre forward, Malcolm, a centre forward like you or like Alan Shearer isn't looking to lay it off in the box. He's looking to finish. He's going to have a crack. And that's not Nick's game. And that's not criticising Nick. That's asking Nick to do a job that's not natural by nature to him.
Yeah, I go back to my Luton days, and Alex Stockton, manager there, he put me in an empty warehouse in the afternoons with a ball, and I would knock it against one wall, and what I had to do as the ball came back off the wall was get it, turn, shoot. And I had to do it as quickly as I could say it. Get it, turn, shoot. Get it, turn, shoot. Get it, turn, shoot. And my life just became get it, turn, shoot for 2 solid years, working in that empty warehouse. And of course, Newcastle United then, they earned out of that. And I was a more accomplished player by the time I arrived at St. James Park. But nevertheless, I wasn't working on get it, turn, shoot. I was practicing it from there on. And if you watch Alan Shearer, you can see him get it, turn, shoot. Get it, turn, shoot. Whereas Voldemort, he doesn't do that. He wants to control it, play it, or do a little trick on the ball, and maybe a nutmeg here and there. It's going to be interesting to see Wissa and see how he.
I emphasise I'm not criticising Voldemort. It's asking somebody to do a job that is not his job. And I've talked to a lot of people in Germany since he come to us, and they all say the same. We were very surprised that the English were talking about him being a centre forward when he signed for you and all that, because when we saw him week in, week out, he wasn't a 9, he was a 10. And while to some fans they might say there's a very little difference, there's about a 5-yard difference, he's playing 5 yards back. It's miles different in the way people play. It is totally a different job. It's a very specialist job to be a natural 9. It's the glory job, but it's a very specialist job.
Yes, it is. It is. And in all fairness to Walter Marder, the fact that he's said yes to Eddie Howe and said, yeah, okay, I'll play up front, right up front. And so he starts at Newcastle United not showing his best of himself.
Of course, that's the worry that I said Joe Linton faced, Malcolm. And
yes, indeed.
John Doyle Thomason faced when he first come. You get your reputation set in trying to do a job that's not naturally yours. And I mean, Voldemort, the way he plays, he's got such good feet. He doesn't want to play the channels. He doesn't want to run on stuff with lightning pace. He wants a ball played into feet because he's all about clever feet. And he's indicated in a couple of matches, just get it into me feet. Get it into me feet. He doesn't want it in front of him naturally to run onto and blaze in one of the corners. He wants it to his feet. And then he'll do things and he'll create things. It's a different game. And I feel very sorry for the lad. What he's been asked to do, but needs must, of course.
Sure, and I think he's shown that he's got a really big heart.
Yes,
and the fact that he's prepared to go into that most forward position, and really.
I wish him all the best because he's for his sake, because he's a nice lad. For
Yeah.
Eddie's sake, for the team's sake, for our sake, watching, we need him. But asking him all of a sudden to play centre forward in a club that's built on legendary centre forwards is putting an awful lot of pressure on him.
All right. Well, talking about legendary centre forwards, John. Finally, Asula scored 2 last night. Would you trust him with a first team shirt?
No, I think it's horses for courses. I mean, I felt that this was the match for him to do well because this was a game where the Champions League side was playing aside from the third tier. Well, if you can't excel in that situation, you shouldn't be at Newcastle United. And that, again, is taking nothing away from them. The boy is so big-hearted, it's untrue. He's so anxious to do well, it's untrue. And his first goal was a terrific one. His second was a tap-in from a couple of inches. His first one was terrific. But I tell you what made it, the ball from Bruno. What a ball from Bruno.
Yes. It was, wasn't it?
But he tucked it in first time. But he was playing against Bradford City. I mean, if he was given the same position on Sunday to play against Arsenal, it would be a different ballgame.
Yeah. He would, playing at the Bradford City level, it'd be a sensation.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I hope he's got a huge amount of confidence out of it and that he will go in with his head high, and because he's a super lad. And there's nothing more certain, Malcolm, than he'll get on midway through the second half against Arsenal, because Voldemort will probably come off. He'll get on the field at some stage. So let's hope that sort of confidence goes with him, and we need that. But I mean, you looked at the game against Bradford City, and the class gap was absolutely huge. I mean, Bradford City give us more space than there is on the town moor. I mean, they weren't going to get close to us at any time. I think we had BO. They kept out our way. It was if you've got players of the ability of Joe Linton and Bruno and etc., you're going to relish that. And we did. At times, it bordered on cruelty. We just knocked it about. And you looked at the open space for to knock it into. I mean, they're used in their league to winning most games. They're top of the league. They're used to pressing. They're the superior side, and they didn't change their style. And that was their undoing. That's why they were so heavily beaten. Last season, when Wimbledon come here, they just put 2 lines of 4 in front of us and said, there's the ball. We had an inferior side then to what we have now, because we didn't have the strength and depth. But we only beat Wimbledon 1-0, and that was a penalty. A couple of years ago, we only beat Tranmere 2-1. So, but this side, bless them, they were so brave. And the manager said before the game, we won't change our style one iota. We'll attack them and we'll do that. Well, perhaps it's not a good idea to attack a Champions League side that's at home, because they might just cut you a million cuts, mightn't they? And they did. So that was good to see, because that's what we should have done. But I mean, the class gap was absolutely huge. The Grand Canyon isn't as big.
Let's chuck it in. Let's just chuck it into the mix, lads. I mean, for the first time under Eddie Howe since the takeover, I would say that we've finally got a squad that we can rotate, because Eddie made 7 changes at the weekend against Bournemouth, and he made multiple changes again last night. But isn't it nice for us to see now, with the exception of up front because of the situation we found ourselves in with Wissa, being able to rotate the back 4, the goalkeeper, and the midfield, and still look as strong? Because to drop Trippier and bring in Lewis Hall, or to bring in Kraft, who Kraft looked as if he's been playing for a while. They're all at that correct fitness level as well, but it's great. And to be able to drop Joe Linton and Bruno to rest any niggles. And this is the difference that we find ourselves in this time round when we were in the Champions League last time. We didn't have a big enough squad. And if anybody did have that little niggle with their Achilles or their hamstring or their knee, they were forced to play. But at the moment, that squad rotation is massively helpful to us.
Oh, I've said this is the best squad we've had since the takeover and since Eddie came. in terms of depth. I mean, the only position where, I mean, we've got two goalkeepers with Ramsdale and Pope. We've got the fullbacks. We've got plenty centre halves. We managed to leave at Bournemouth both Joe Linton and Bruno out, which would be unthinkable normally. And then we don't play Tonali the other night. We've got several types of wingers. We're double stocked everywhere, bar centre forward. The only position where we look lightweight a little bit because of Wissa's injury is centre forward. And remember, we still haven't got Ramsey fitting up and running properly yet. So there is a lot of strength and depth. And that's why last season we beat Wimbledon 1-0 with a penalty, and this season we beat Bradford City 4-1 because we're squad depth is that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would agree, Mal. I mean, it's a lot of people were scratching their heads to the team selection at the weekend, but I thought it was great. I thought it was great. We got a 0-0 draw. We know it's a bit of a bogey team going to Bournemouth. We read the stats out last week, the results from previous seasons. I don't think many people will go to Bournemouth and not concede a goal. And we nullified them. And then again last night, lower league opposition.
I thought that was a major tick.
Yeah.
For Newcastle, the fact that they didn't concede a goal. Bournemouth are very good on their own patch, and I thought Newcastle they coped with it all very well in that first third. I thought they were absolutely terrific, Newcastle.
The only criticism I've got at the moment with that is the lack of goal scorers. We always wonder where goals have come from. Yes, there was 4 against Bradford City, but we're remembering who were playing with Bradford City, third tier. You look at Arsenal again, and you think, we can beat Arsenal, and then you're just looking at, but who will score the goals? Now, Joe Linton got 2, and that was great coming from deep, and Asula, who will not start against Arsenal. But also, I look at other positions and think, where the goal's going to come from? Gordon scored against Barcelona, but I think he missed a barrel load of goals against Bradford City. He must have missed 3 or 4 goal scoring opportunities. Elanga hasn't scored yet. Bonds, the whole 3/4 of Bonds' game is finishing. He doesn't look like he's going to buy a goal at the moment. We're not getting goals from the wingers. We've got the centre forward problem we've talked about. The wingers aren't scoring goals. We're looking for the midfielders or the big centre halves on set pieces. And the size of the team we are, we should be getting more goals from our corners. We should be getting goals.
Very much so, John.
Shouldn't we? We don't.
We're not.
Goals from the centre
you say
halves.
We should be getting goals. We're not even getting the head to the ball.
Or it's Big Dan Burn outside the back post, heading it back in between the posts, where instead of on goal.
John, he's not effectively getting onto the ball at all. I think he seems to be concentrating too much on the scrap that he's having with his marker.
But also the way we're employing him at the moment.
Push your marker away,
But also, Malcolm, we're standing him outside the back post. You don't score from there. You head it back into the mixer. Whereas at Wembley, when he scored, he was in a central position, albeit a long way out. But we use him more back post beyond the back post.
In actual fact, John, you just reminded me, because I remember now sitting watching the Bournemouth game, and with all the corners, either they hit the first man or they knocked it beyond the last man.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment...
there wasn't anything in the middle.
We got a new tactical coach for set pieces this season, and I've yet got to see evidence of some genius plan yet. There's a lot of work to be done by this coach whose pure job is to set up set Nothing much comes off set pieces for us at the moment.
John, I've been very disappointed in what I'm seeing, because for heaven's sake, when you've got a 6'13" fella like Dan Burn, what your job is to do is to find a way to make him that little bit of space just as the ball is coming over in the air, and he'll out-jump anybody.
Which is what happened at Wembley in the cup final. The
Yes.
space he found there to finish.
Yeah.
And also, if you think of the big centre halves, and we often have three of them on the field at one time, the big centre halves to go up for corners, and also put Voldemort in at 6'6", and we are a big team. We should be scoring goals off set pieces,
and we're not even getting our heads to it.
Yeah, that's the disappointment. And I mean, it's, you know, no matter what level, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, you know, set pieces are something which really, you know, everyone should take advantage of. Otherwise, when you win a corner, you might as well kick it back to the keeper and just kick it off.
Sure, corners, free kicks, and
I think we're only highlighting this, Steve, because the question is on Sunday, when we play a different class of opposition to Bradford City, the question is, where's the goals come from? And so we're looking, are the wingers chipping in enough? Are the midfielders chipping in enough? On set pieces with the big lads all up there, are we getting enough? And because we're having to look for goals, we haven't got a 27-goal centre forward, which is what Isaac was last season, and say, well, he'll always score at some time in the game. We haven't got that type of centre forward at this given moment. So we've got to look for goals from elsewhere as well.
And we've got to be very, very careful and aware on Sunday, because if you were to go into the Arsenal dressing room and say, okay, put your hands up if you haven't scored this season, there wouldn't be many hands that go up. Their goals have varied right the way through the team. And so we're going to have to work really hard on defensive set pieces to ensure that we've got them under control. Because it's not just one man that's going to be a danger. They're all a danger with Arsenal. And so, and I would like to be able to say that of Newcastle, they're all a danger. But the supply in the first place has got to be spot on. And if it isn't, then nobody can make themselves into a threat.
Yeah, good stuff. Halfway through the show, time for the ad break. Back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. If you haven't got your tickets for that, get them quickly. They are selling quite well, and that'll be a cracking night with Gibbo hosting it. And our Christmas do will be 21st of November at the Irish Centre. Warren Barton and Joe Allen are going to team up for an hour or so, just to have a chat with the fans and chance to get your photograph, etc. with Warren in aid of Age UK North Tyneside Dementia Charity. That's at the Tyneside Irish Club. Tickets are £12. 7 to 10, get yourself along. There's a bit of entertainment as well from Sid, who does the Talk of the Tune show. He'll be playing the records or CDs, or maybe just a memory stick. And from our perspective as well, we'll have Adam Henderson on, the young guitarist, who will be coming along to play a little bit as well. But Sonia will be there from the charity as well, so look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. Lots of comments coming in. Thank you very much for that. Jason says, can John remember the last time we had 3 consecutive 0-0 games away from home in the top flight? It's a valid question. I haven't flicked through the record books for that one, but I tell you what, it's been a while, John.
It's a heck of a good question. I mean, they wouldn't stand out in the mind, would they? 3-0 no draws. You tend to want to forget about them because there isn't even goals in the thing. I mean, yeah. I remember a 4-4 draw with Arsenal a lot more than I remember the 0-0s during Arsene Wenger's side when Czech Teote scored the equaliser. Remember? Wonderful day that was. Eventually it was a wonderful day. The second half was wonderful. 4-0 down at half time. But no, we haven't had that very much. And, we want to step it up a gear. It all looks good and it's all reassuring, etc., etc. But the bottom line, as we go into Arsenal, is that we've only got 1 victory all season. Not in the League Cup, but that's separate in the league. 1 victory all season, and that was Wolves 1-0. And that's got to be improved pretty quick because otherwise we are playing catch up in the league table. And we have done well. Nobody's turned us over. Even when we had 10 men against Liverpool and were 2-0 down, they didn't turn us over. We got back to 2-2 and tragically lost with the last kick. But we haven't got turned over. But equally, we haven't been turning over sides. And I think we've got to start to do that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Is it time to move Barnes on in January? You could argue that Asula is a better winger. Personally, I think Barnes is done. I'd really like to see a left-footed winger come in to add further options. It's interesting, this one, Malcolm, because Anthony Gordon, of course, suspended at after the Liverpool sending off. He's working his way back in. I've got to be honest, when I watch Gordon, and you guys go to the game as well, I often feel there's something not right with him. He's either trying too hard. I just don't know. It's not the Anthony Gordon that was signed and who Howe seemed to get the best out of. And then Barnes, unfortunately, he just hasn't produced. I mean, this was Barnes' opportunity to keep Gordon out of the team. You'd think he'd be busting gut, to stay in the squad, stay in the team, and be ahead of Gordon because of his mistake against Liverpool. He hasn't done it either. So is that the weakest part of our team at the minute in the midfield?
It was a glorious opportunity for Barnes to really stamp himself into the team. But he's just not taken it. In fact, it's almost as if the injury of Gordon the sending off of and the suspension of Gordon affected Barnes more than it did Gordon, because he's gone right off the boil. He seemed to want, early on in those 3 games, he seemed to want to just keep getting shots in. And so the opposing sides quickly sussed him out and said, well, yeah, force him inside, and just make sure that there is always that man in front to stop the shot. And in the end, there was one time where he ran from one side of the pitch right the way across the edge of the box and finished up on the far side. Yeah. Well, that's not what we need, particularly in the Premiership. You need people to be getting crosses in for others, and if they are going to come inside, they must get a shot on, and that's what Barnes used to do, but he's not doing it now at all. And he's looked sorry for himself in these 3 games, and that's something that I don't like to see at all in a player. I really don't. Sorry, John.
We've got pace on both wings with Elanga and Murphy on one side and Barnes and Gordon on the other, but we're not getting end products. Murphy apart, who when he's in on assists and goals does well. Elanga hasn't scored yet. Gordon got the one against Barca at the end. But we haven't got the threat in terms of finishing to help the goal scoring situation at all. And I'm looking for more from a, yes, we worry people with our pace on the hoof on the wings, but we've got to produce a little bit more from outside, from out wide. And I'll be looking at that against Arsenal.
Sure. John, name somebody in the team who has made an impression on you as to getting crosses into the box this season.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Nobody at all. And then who's made an impression on you for getting shots at goal? And the only one is Murphy.
Yeah, it's what we lacked this season. We were a front foot side that sort of patted ourselves on the back about what an attacking side we are. And I'll say it again, as much as it's sickening to mention the guy, but when you've got a 27-goal centre forward and he suddenly goes for whatever reason, you're going to miss him.
Yeah.
Whether we've missed him. You know, I don't like saying it because of what the guy did, but facts are facts. We haven't replaced a 27-goal centre forward, and that takes some doing anyway. But we haven't. Yeah, and by the way, how greedy can Liverpool do? They've got Ekitike, and now they've got Isak as well. And I mean, you know, would Hugo have gone there if he'd known Isak was coming? He might have come to us because his position as a centre forward is under threat. He's going to have to go and play on the left wing. But I tell you what, he is, in my humble opinion, he's a missed opportunity because they say centre forwards take time when they come to this country to acclimatise. And sure enough, our centre forward, who isn't a centre forward, is taking time. The Arsenal kid who played for Coventry, but that was in the 2nd division, is taking time. When he comes up here, he hasn't pulled up any roots at Arsenal yet. Senso, who chose Man United instead of us, hasn't pulled up any trees yet. But the boy that went to Liverpool, Ekitike, he looks a proper player. He's silky smooth, he's quick, he's a lethal finisher. He hasn't needed time to to acclimatise to the Premier League. He's hit the ground running and looks a quality player. But I mean, what a greedy bunch of so-and-so Liverpool are. They've taken 2 of them.
I still think that will backfire on Liverpool. You know, I think his temperament's going to be the problem. I mean, he got a daft book and he ripped his shirt off celebrating a winner, which, you know, I guess
everybody does that.
Players do that, but he's been sent off, and then Slot's come out and hammered him, you know, at the press conference and said, you know, he's stupid. You know, but I've got a feeling that signing of Ekitike and Isak is going to backfire. It's got the hallmarks of Pogba and Ronaldo at the Man United dressing room. You know, 2 egos. You know, they made Isak run up and down the touchline after he came off.
Yeah, I think the manager, he'll be able to handle that.
Yeah,
and make sure that it doesn't blow up in any way.
Salah doesn't seem happy yet.
But what you've got to remember is that what Liverpool have done is not only strengthened themselves and to the point where they can have a couple of injuries and it's not going to make a lot of difference. But they've weakened other sides.
Yeah.
And weakened them seriously.
Massively. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 100%, lads. Gary, good afternoon. He says, John Malcolm, once Wissers fit, how would you play Voldemort and who would you drop to include him in the first 11? Do you think they'll ever play them together, John? Do you think, I mean, Eddie said he'd probably stick with his 4-3-3, but those two could play together.
No, I think he will play them together because needs must and we'll need goals. And Voldemort is the record signing. Is he going to a record signing to sit as a regular bench player? I don't think he's going to do that to him. Steve, when he plays three at the back, which he did the other week, and he might well do, by the way, against Arsenal, three centre halves, then he's got to drop somebody else in the team numerically. He's either got to drop one of his middle three, who are almost cast in stone, Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton, or he's got to leave out one of the wingers. And I think he will play Wiese, because you're not playing two centre forwards together with Wiese and Voldemort, because Voldemort is not a centre forward. I think he'll play Wiese, not every game, but certain play Wiese, Voldemort behind him, and sacrifice a winger on the right wing at the moment, and play Gordon. And I think he'll do it that way. But because they're not going to get in each other's way, Voldemort and Wiese, because Voldemort will willingly play on the periphery of the penalty box action, because that's what he does best. And Wiese will love playing in the penalty box with a 9 on his back, scoring goals if he can do that. And he did it at Brentford. And
that will give Voldemort the opportunity to see Wiese make the run, and of course it creates a space, and he'll be coming late into the box, into that space. It'll work well for both of them, both Wiese and Voldemort.
Malcolm, say you sacrifice your outside right to be able to play the two of them, then Voldemort drifts right or drifts left. He likes to do so. He will effectively sometimes drop off and go wide.
Yes, he will.
Give you the width on that side by doing that. And I think they can play together. Simply, if you'd bought two, I mean, I don't think you can play Isaac and Ekitike through the middle together. One of them's got to play outside left, and it'll probably be Ekitike. And Isaac play down the middle. I don't know that you can get, because they would run into each other's space if they both played through the middle. But Voldemort won't. With Wiese, they will do different jobs.
They certainly will. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'm not so sure that we can actually second guess what that final side that Eddie's going to choose is going to be.
And fate changes things as well. Sending off an injury, it really does change things. I think, Eddie, I think when we look back on this season, I know we're a long way away from May at the moment, but, I think when we look back at this season, we'll look back at the start of the season and go, you know what, Eddie got chucked right into it at the start there, and he's done it again. He's managed to keep clean sheets against Aston Villa, Leeds, and Bournemouth away. He's got points out of games which we could have lost. It's easy. It's very easy to lose. But we've managed to. We're 3 points off the top four, and we're 4 points off the bottom four. But at the end of the day, we haven't lost any ground, and we're still in the Carabao Cup. So good start to the season. Give a good account of ourselves in the Champions League. Lots to be positive about, and hopefully goals will start coming. And I think that's a big confidence boost last night, John, if nothing else. Going into a huge game against Arsenal at the weekend, which we're going to look at now, it's a huge thing. It's confidence, and from our perspective, we were being criticised for not scoring goals. And you made your point right at the start of the show. Tranmere, Wimbledon, 1-0, 2-1. We didn't score goals against them. Last night, we made scoring goals look easy.
Certainly, if we'd struggled last night and won 1-0 with a penalty, as we did at this time last year with Wimbledon before the wonderful run and the Wembley success happened, then we were going to Arsenal full of apprehension and trepidation, wouldn't we? Say, quite to me, we couldn't beat Wimbledon. That was etc. etc. But the four, and it needed to be goals. There needed to be goals. We can't beat the side from third tier 1-0 or something and take a load of confidence off it. We needed to score goals. But we also very realistic. It won't be that easy to score goals against Arsenal as it was against Bradford City. It's chalk and cheese, the two matches, and it's going to be interesting because both clubs have got great defensive records. Arsenal have let in, I think, 2 goals in the league this season, and Newcastle have had all the notes and then 1-0 against Wolves, so they've kept a lot of clean sheets. I think it's going to be tight, and I think it's going to be low scoring, but it's going to be a fascinating match.
Yes, it certainly will be. That's for sure.
It's the Marlon McDonald derby, of course.
Yes, it is. I suppose. Yeah. I just wonder that, home advantage, make the most of it, and just watching the games so far this season, there is a marvelous relationship between players and crowd. And so everybody's getting into it, and I just have the feeling that Newcastle, in having had the problems that they've had so far, I think that they need a really strong test, and Arsenal is exactly that. And I think that they'll be working really hard between the game last night and Sunday as to what they can do against Arsenal.
The funny thing is,
and last night's result, I think it was a great opener for what we can expect on Sunday.
I mean, the funny thing is, both sides desperately need to win. Arsenal have got a manager who mainly is belt and braces. His first thought is we don't lose before we win. His first thought is he can't be overcautious. He can't be overcautious.
I think, John, also, I think he's got his eyes seriously on the title this season.
Oh, he has, but that's where he's overcautious. I mean, it took an injury time equaliser to get a point against Man City when they were at home. And, he's so cautious. I mean, he's got to win the match. He's got to win on Sunday. But why? Because they're 5 points behind Liverpool already. He can't allow that to grow. If he allows that to grow, he's almost detached from Liverpool, and the season's hardly started. He has got to win. We've got to win because we have only won one Premier League match all season, and that was 1-0 against Wolves. We have got this. We're very difficult to beat. We've had 3 away notes on the bounce, etc. But we've got to get back to winning, else we'll become detached. So both sides really need to win this match. Both sides could make a case out and say, well, a draw, that's not a bad result. And that, normally speaking, is correct. But the way things have panned out, they need to win because they're 5 points behind Liverpool. Supposing Liverpool win and they don't, look at the distance, the little stretch between Arsenal and Liverpool Lane. They really must try to win this. We have only won once. We need, and what a morale booster it would be to beat Arsenal. I mean, that would really, we need to win because
the football that Newcastle have been playing it has been absolutely excellent. Playing from the back all the way forward, and from a football point of view, I think the football is going to be absolutely electric to watch on Sunday. I really do. It's going to be not just a physical battle, but a battle of wits, and more importantly, I suppose, an absolute battle of skills.
How big a myth is Odegaard and Madueke going to be for Arsenal?
Huge, absolutely huge. I think that he is he's the player that everything falls back on with Arsenal, and without him, they haven't got that fallback, and he is one hell of a miss. And in all fairness, I think he's an absolutely superb player, but he's a great character.
A big influence on the game, guys, could be which one of the two centre forwards does the best. Because the guy that Arsenal brought in hasn't hit the ground running.
Absolutely, there's a very similar situation, isn't there?
It's which one does the better on the day, might well decide it.
Yes, absolutely. But I just wonder. I have that sort of feeling that Voldemort, he's the kind of personality that he'll look at Arsenal and say, right, this one is for me. I'm really going to get into this, and he'll come out and really, really shine on the day, because he relies on his deft skills, and who better to do it against than one of the most skillful sides in not just in the country but in Europe.
Okay, let's get a prediction of you guys. I think Newcastle will win this game. I'm very confident about Arsenal at home. I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle, John.
Yeah, well, everybody say, well, can we beat Arsenal? Well, recent history tells you most certainly we can. I mean, we played them twice up here last season. We beat them 1-0 in the league and 2-0 in the League Cup semi-final. Yeah. We also won 2-0 down there in the League Cup semi-final. We only had the one defeat right at the end, but we won 3 out of 4 against them last season, including 2 at St James's Park. He doesn't like coming up here. When he comes up here, there's something always wrong. Either we're allowed to cheat on corners, or the size of the ball is too different, or the wind's blowing left to right when it should be right to left. And there's almost the most ridiculous excuses. I mean, if ever there's a manager made for neutrals to hate, it's Arteta.
Yeah.
He doesn't endear himself to anybody apart from Gunners. And I mean, he really is like a well-smacked backside, isn't he?
Yes.
And he finds it very difficult up here. We can beat them up here. We've proved it in the past. I think it'll be nail-biting. I think it'll be thrust and parry. I think it'll be so close it's untrue. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals because we don't concede a lot and we can't score a lot. So I'm taking us to win 1-0.
Yes, so my job. Absolutely. I think it is going to be a really, really tight game. And there's going to be some fabulous football on display, but it's going to be very, very tight. I'm going to take Newcastle to win 1-0 as well.
Well, what I'm looking at, if we happen to be right and the 3 of us have gone for victory, I'm looking forward to the final whistle because I want to see Arteta's face. Because honestly, it'll be like the back of a bus, and then I want to stay in the press conference because I want to hear the excuse. Somebody's punctured the football, or the sun kicked. We haven't put a roof on somewhere, and the sun's got in the side, and it's blinded the goalkeeper. I mean, he is original on his excuses. I'll give him that. They're so far fetched. It should be Hans Christian Andersen that's saying them, but. Yeah.
Where do you think the goals are going to come from, lads? I'm going to go for a Gordon goal. He loves a goal against Arsenal, Gordon. I think he will put the ball in the back of the net this weekend. And I still think Tonali has got a lot more to give. I'm fancying a Tonali goal. So there's my 2 predictions.
Sure. I can see a goal coming from midfield.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say anywhere because I don't care. If we win 1-0, I don't care who gets it. We're not hanging. honestly, the centre half can send their centre half can send his own goalkeeper the wrong way and tuck it in for an OG in the 89th minute, and I'll have a smile as wide as the Tyne Bridge. So really, the answer to who scores it is I don't care. What I care about is the scoreline, and if it's 1-0 as I think it'll be, I'll be a very happy bunny come Sunday night.
Last question from Tom Dixon. He says, do you think we'll beat Spurs in the next round, lads? Yeah, we've got Spurs. Anybody at home, John, for me, but I think that's an easier one than Liverpool or Man City.
Oh, I mean, yes, it is the tie of the round. It's two giants of the Premier League, if you like. All the other sides are playing lesser sides. And would we prefer to have Spurs at home than Liverpool or Arsenal or Man City away? Of course we would. They're on a bit of a revival. It's not as easy as Ange Ball, where you could go 3-0 down against Ange and still win 4-3. It's not quite like that with Spurs now, but I'm very, very confident that we will beat Spurs. He can put out good sides all the time now, as we've said, but he'll put out his best side for this one. There'll be a huge atmosphere. It'll be the first pick on the television when the television come to pick the games, because it's got so much about it, hasn't it? Yes, I think we will beat Spurs. I'm quite confident of that.
Yeah, I'm more than confident. I always remember when we faced them in the League Cup semi-final back in 1976.
I was going to say your side played them in the semi.
Yeah, that's right. And we played at White Hart Lane in the first leg, and we lost 1-0. I have never sat in a dressing room after that game with a feeling of such utter confidence that we would just win the game on the second leg. And it wasn't just me, it was everybody. Everybody in the dressing room knew that we were going to rip them apart at St. James Park. And that's precisely what happened. We beat them 3-1 and we were all over them. And I think that's it sort of follows the club over the decades, that you could. I think that Spurs are vulnerable somewhat to that, and Newcastle, I think they're just in the mood right now to go and really punish sides, particularly in this, because we are the holders of the cup and we are defending it, and that's a really big task.
By the way, boys, it's a long time since we used that sentence. We are defending a trophy. I think it was 1969 the last time we were able to say that. That's a long time ago.
Brilliant stuff, lads. That's the hour. We will be back hopefully next Thursday at 6 o'clock. But great show, lads. Lovely to see you. And let's hope our predictions come true this weekend. See you next Thursday. Take care, fellas.
Let's hope so.
Take care, guys.